Hello, thank you for watching MTDC's Growing Tech Talents. With me, Syed Fardeen Omar, and today I have with me Mr. Adrian Joseph, the CEO or the co-founder of Biogenes Technologies. Thank you for joining us, Adrian. So, you know, prior to this recording, we were talking about the good stuff that your company is doing and a lot of interesting innovation that you are coming up with. And it is interesting because a lot of it seems to be coming post-pandemic or as a result of the pandemic. So in a nutshell, perhaps we can start with you describing to us some of the work that you're actively doing right now.
Thank you, Dino and MTDC, for making space for this. Hi, my name is Adrian, co-founder of Biogenes. It's very interesting. A lot of people suffered during the pandemic. In Biogenes, we took it as a challenge to find a way to solve some of the problems that we felt that Malaysians were having. And one of the challenges is with the amount of tests that you're having to do. Sometimes you keep your own records, and it's hard for people to kind of see where, what those records are. And we started off thinking how we could innovate on this process better. Biogenes was in the midst of developing new technology to design molecules that can detect viruses using our computational platform or doing it online. The traditional process is using animals. We say the only mouse that we harm is our computer mouse. And we managed to finalize that technology, and then the pandemic hit. So my team and I decided we can't go to our lab. What can we do? We took it upon ourselves as a challenge to find a molecule that can detect COVID-19. Fast forward, we now have a device, a solution. It's a mobile-based solution. We call it Digital Rapid Test Kit. We have a library of over 300 molecules that you can put onto this and you can test it. So we are looking at ways of doing testing better, faster, quicker, and more efficient in the comfort of your own home. Our dream is to have that. And the beauty of it is everything that we have was done by Malaysian researchers, Malaysians, and Biogenes found the talent, put them together, and we are collaborating towards building a solution that we can serve our country and even the region.
So if you can just go back 2 seconds, that you mentioned that the traditional method of doing this is to harvest antibodies or all the materials that is needed to create suitable antibodies from animals. So you're harvesting them from animals, and now instead of doing that, you're actually modeling it all digitally.
Yes.
What are the pros of doing that digitally, and what are the cons of doing that digitally as well, if there's any?
In terms of pros, you actually save a lot of time. A traditional process would take maybe even a year to accomplish. Now, this slows down research in general. It slows down the development, and we are heavily dependent on countries that allow animal-based research. Now, in Malaysia, with Biogenes, we've enabled an entire group of researchers working from things. COVID was something that we worked with. We worked with a whole different bunch of diseases, from cervical cancer to colorectal cancer to different hormones and different pathogens. And we've accelerated the disease beyond a point that they can get their materials sooner, they can do the research faster, get to the validated outcomes sooner, and then eventually gets translated onto a device that can be used by all of us.
So in other words, because this is genomic based, it is not necessarily 100% tied to COVID. It can actually be remodeled and to be reapplied across various different kinds of medical applications.
Exactly. We took COVID as a challenge to go into the medical market. We started off with the animal and agriculture market. So we built our tools robust to be able to use in the field. And then with COVID coming in, we took it upon ourselves, because building a medical device product in Malaysia and Southeast Asia in general is really a very tough job, because there's lack of access to capital, there is lack of resources, and people don't believe that a Malaysian company can come up with this. I actually had a pitch with both a Singaporean and a US VC, and they told me, Malaysia, medical device innovation, not known for it. So that stirred up a challenge to prove them wrong, as with most entrepreneurs, and we have. Today our device is showcased in Pusat Sains Negara, and MTDC has helped us get this far. So we're looking at the next phase of how we can produce and make this available to Malaysia, and then the rest of Southeast Asia.
So again, amazingly, all this is done in-house, in the country,
Exactly.
by Malaysians that you probably meet every day. How difficult or easy, it could be easy, you know, it's just me assuming that it's probably difficult to actually upskill and reskill the current crop of talents that we have to start thinking digitally, because you yourself said that, you know, it was because of the challenges faced in harvesting the antibodies from the animals that came up, where you came up with the idea of modeling it digitally. So was it easy to find the right people to do this?
So fundamentally, the answer is no. And we are fortunate that we have a young team that's willing to work and build on some of the ideas. Just a simple example was we didn't have powerful enough computers, so we had to build our own computers. So the ideas, but when you put Malaysians in a situation like a pandemic or a challenge, people tend to rise to a challenge. And we've successfully been able to do that, gather young, excited people working in, I mean, digital is now like a buzzword. Everyone wants to be something in digital. And because we set a pace, as founders and co-founders of the company, we said we're not afraid of the young people. We want to invite them. We want to let them build a platform together with us. We give them the flexibility to do what they want. And as they merge, we merged our two strengths together. This created a platform where they could build, and together we could design. So the accelerated development, the ideas all begin to flow because they felt comfortable that as owners of the company, we supported them and we were behind them. Yeah.
Now, as owners of the company, also as the leaders within the company, there is this tendency where if the leaders do not know 100% the skills that is required and is entirely dependent on what the talents are going to be bringing onto the table, some might think that, you know, this is the case of a blind leading the blind, right? But in many situations, we see that true talent emerges when faith and trust is put in the team. So as a leader, how did you find that process going through with it?
Moving into newer platforms of communication, learning to see things from a perspective of the millennials, and then incorporating that into hard science. The thing that we do is called deep tech. It's really hard science, so there's a lot of research and material base behind it, but marrying some of the new ways of doing things together with the hard science has made a platform that is suitable for people, to be able to grow and learn and use those talents.
So these are new skills that are either imported in from the talents themselves, or you know, that's something that you have introduced into the system. Do you find that there is a mismatch between what is available, the supply, and what is truly demanded in coming up with the innovation that you're coming up with?
I think one of the challenges with that is while we train a lot of people in different kinds of disciplines in university and education, I find that there is a bit of a gap in allowing them to practice that. So you learn a lot of things, but then you don't get to practice that. Like in other industries, you learn about media, you can go and do something in media. In biotech, I used to be in an organization that set up the biotech industry in Malaysia. We would find that biotech graduates go into insurance at the end of the day because they make more money, or they go into other industries because there's not enough people wanting to undertake that. So I always tell my team that we are building the most exciting biotech company here because we want to make things digital. We want to go into the new era. We want to find simpler and better ways to do things. That's why we call our tagline is a diagnostic simplified. So we're going to try and move towards that. But that allows them to practice those skills that they learned and think about new innovative ways of how to get those skills in there. So allowing people to find their space within the organization is important. I have a saying that we use business to build talent and not talent to build businesses. So if your talents grow, your businesses grow. Most people, I think, want to focus on building their business and growing their business, and then they try and find talents. We take a different approach. In fact, in our company, what we do is we give each of our staff 1,000 ringgit to spend on whatever skills they want to go after. It could be photography. And we happily support that. So we have a budget, we call it education budget. That's for the internal. The external people who work with us, we give them a whole bunch of credits on free webinars. I think we are one of the few companies that spend a lot in giving researchers grants. Small startup, still searching for funding, but we are investing into the future of our talent by giving them grants. We want to make sure that they understand what we're doing, get the skills. So we really believe in talent development.
So I'm sure it is in the same spirit of talent development that you have crossed paths with MTDC, and they have basically facilitated your acceleration into this space that you're in right now. How important it is to actually have the involvement of people like MTDC in creating new opportunities such as what you're doing right now within the Malaysian ecosystem?
They trust local talents and they're willing to invest and provide that base for them. So the initial funding that MTDC provided to us allowed us to build a lab to be able to grow viruses, to test it during a pandemic. Now, that's unheard of. Like, we were sending our samples overseas to be able to do that. Now we can do this at home. And it's largely because to organizations like MTDC, and MTDC in particular, who prioritize the technology. And of course they liked it because they have this vision about IR 4.0, and we are doing something called digital biotechnology. We want to be able to resource the world using digital means. So I think it was a match made in heaven during a pandemic.
But also the beauty of it is that the relationship that you have with MTDC is one that is very dynamic, and you grow together. So looking forward, what can we expect?
We're moving into our next phase. Now we need to get our, in Biogenes, we need to get our devices medically produced. That means produced through a medical center. We are raising our next level of funding, about 6 million. And then we're going to produce products that can be used in medical settings. This is from your clinics to your hospitals to even in the comfort of your own home. So we're journeying with MTDC, we're discussing with them how it can be done. And this is a partnership that I think more than anyone in the country, MTDC understands, because they do sit down and understand what you're going through, and they provide means to be able to resource that. So we're very happy to be able to do that. I have to say, this couldn't have been possible if we didn't have a great team.
Fantastic. Good luck on that, Adrian. And before we go, just one final quirky question. So let's say MTDC was to say, hey, Adrian, we want to give you X amount of money to go and develop your own interests, like how you've given 1,000 ringgit to your staff. What would you do?
Probably get a show on Astro or AWANI. Just kidding. I think evangelizing and talking about biotech in a more acceptable way. We've done well in this industry. To a certain point, I think there's a lot more to explore. And while profits is important, I think it's the expression of ideas and innovation that really changes things. And we want to change the way we do things. We see Malaysia, I see Malaysia as a good place to explore and test for a region of Southeast Asia. And in fact, that's what we are doing with Biogenes. We are partnered with different entities around the region. There'll be more news on that coming soon. But we're aggressive. We really want to see a change, and we want to see how we can make people's life easier.
Well, you've been watching MTDC's Growing Tech Talents with me, Syed Faridin Omar, and my guest today, Mr. Adrian Joseph, the co-founder of Biogenes Technologies. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.